Hey, yo, welcome into a brand new episode of the Review at Rob Show. Appreciate you joining in. Hope you're having a great day out there as you've decided to jump in and listen to this show. We're going to have some fun this week. Maybe very insane movie we're going to talk about on this episode by the name of Longlegs. If you saw that movie, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give you my spoiler-free review on that episode, as all reviews on this show are spoiler-free. And you'll get mandatory horror news and mandatory DC news and some other goodies going on around the world of movies, television shows, entertainment, fun times to be had on this episode. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and jump into the review of this week's episode. Again, the name of the movie is Longlegs. It is rated R for some language, disturbing images, and bloody violence. It is currently playing in theaters with a runtime of 1 hour and 41 minutes. It is classified as a horror mystery thriller, the trifecta of awesome. And synopsis goes as in a pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree. So, getting into this movie, man, I didn't go into the movie with a lot of information, right? I saw the trailer once when they first released the trailer. Saw it once, maybe saw it again in theaters, but didn't see much of the film going into it. Never read the synopsis. Never really fully knew what was going on with this movie going in. I was just like, cool, spooky thriller film. I'm into it. I'm gladly go see that in theaters. And that's what I did. And I want to start there. Now, the movie is classified as a horror thriller mystery. I'm going to say it's not so much horror as it is a thriller film. There is mystery going on with the FBI agent uncovering series of clues. All this stuff. It's very much a crime thriller film with some very disturbing images, like they mentioned in their rating, and some bloody violence and all that stuff like that. So maybe that's where they bring in the horror aspect with the bloody violence and things. Not all horror movies are bloody violent, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it's mostly think of it like a Zodiac-ish kind of movie, or a Silence of the Lambs kind of feel vibe to it, all that stuff. Like movies like that. It's very much detective work throughout the movie, but you're gonna get some of these grisly images. You're gonna get some disturbing things. Nicolas Cage's freaking character, which bravo to the promotion team or whoever came up with this decision to not show Nicolas Cage in the trailer all that much, maybe teased it a little bit. Again, I haven't seen the trailer all that much, but I know he wasn't really seen in that trailer, his character in the film, which was fantastic. I'm so glad that they decided to do that, because seeing that character for the first time in the movie, and it's teased and stuff and all that in the movie, and then seeing the character like, freaking, that's creepy. It's a very creepy vibe. Nicolas Cage doing a fantastic job in the movie playing this character. Is just it's one of those movies that plays with your mind, right? I've seen other people mention it. It's one of those movies where it sits with you for a little bit. It's gonna sit with you after you leave the theater. It's not a jump scary movie. There's a couple of jump scares in the movie, not a ton or anything like that. Not an overly used or ridiculous version of a jump scare. You know what I mean? Like when you're in the movie theater or at home watching a movie, you got it really loud and a cat jumps across the screen, and it's like, ah. Not that kind of jump scare. Jump scares that actually make sense in this movie. So, but it's more of a thriller, man. It's going to be one of those things where you're going to sit there and you're moving along with our main character, who's played by, excuse me, might mess with the name, Makia Monroe. Suck with names. If you're new to the show, guess what? Suck with names. But she's doing a great job playing her character, who's, maybe comes off as odd to some people or all that stuff, but she's very focused on the work that she's putting in, and smartly coming up with clues and figuring it all out and putting things together and all that stuff. We've got Blair Underwood as an agent in the film. Blair Underwood, fantastic. Alicia Witt, fantastic as their characters. Great acting going on throughout the movie here, and a very intriguing film, man. This movie kept me like invested from start to finish. I was into it. I'm trying to figure out what was going on. I'm like, this is crazy, but it's interesting, and it's into it. And it's kind of mind trippy, but at the same time, it's not over the top mind trippy. Like, I'm getting it. You're not losing me with anything. I'm invested in what you're telling me here. I'm having a good time watching this, even though this is crazy stuff going on. It's wild and all that. And I can always talk around myself not to spoil anything, so I can't go in further detail about the crazy things that are happening in this movie. But very interesting film. I'm glad I did see it in theaters. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, which is going to happen with movies, obviously. But for me, Man, I had a really good time with it. I like what they put together here. It is from Oz Perkins, who I haven't seen a much of his work, but from what I've heard some people say about this movie, this film does very much fit his style and all that stuff. And the movie's doing very well. Like every time I tried to get a ticket for this movie last week, like the theater seating chart was like filling up very quickly, and I've seen that on social media. A lot of people are running into the same thing. So I don't know what the actual box office for the film is right now. We can probably look that up, but it is doing pretty dang well box office wise. If I had to guess, just based on what I'm seeing on the Regal app and looking at everything. Let's see. So Despicable Me easily wins with its money. How much did Longlegs make? And this is from the Hollywood Reporter. This is from today at this morning. So let's see. Longlegs. Da-da-da. Scoring the biggest opening for an independent horror pick in a decade with 22.6 million in ticket sales. So there you go, man. That's a big deal. Let's see. So the big surprise of the weekend is the better than expected performance of Longlegs. La 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 la. Among other records, so it's getting records. What records are we getting here? Because I don't want to. I'm trying to avoid stuff while reading here. So let's see. The biggest opening ever for Tom Quinn's Oscar-winning specialty production and design outfit Neon, who had, of course, Parasite. Other records is Cage's biggest opening since National Treasure Book is Secret, which was 27 years ago. It's also the top R-rated opening of 2024 to date. I mean, yeah, to date, because obviously Deadpool's coming out in a couple of weeks. And it's also the only indie horror film of the past decade to open to 20 million or more. This excludes one of the Insidious movies from Focus Features and Universal. Going back as far as 25 years, Neon also notes that very few indie films have crossed 20 million threshold in their debut. For purposes of context, however, many indie titles, including Neon releases, only open a few theaters versus rolling out nationwide as Longlegs did. But it has been well received. The movie's doing well at the box office. I mean, it seems to have that word of mouth where people are like, "You got to see this, man. This movie is something you got to go see. You got to go see it in theaters. Don't wait for it, and all that stuff." And I'm gonna second that. Like, I really enjoy this movie. I've been on record about how I feel about the mind trippy films, or just doing something crazy or over the top in film just for the sake of doing something like that. But I think this movie is real enough and put together well enough to where it never lost me. Like, there wasn't a moment in this film where it lost me. Like, yeah, again, it gets crazy, it gets odd, it gets insane, it gets diabolical, if you will. It gets bloody, it gets grisly, it gets weird. Like, any kind of words you want to throw in there, it gets into it. And at the same time, it's like I am enjoying what I'm watching, whatever that says about me. But I think it is a very solid film that I'm glad I saw. It's easily in my top 10 favorite films right now. I don't know if it cracked my top five, and we still have some time left in the year. Let me go to my letterbox real quick. I'm not going to tell you the number, obviously, because suspense, but um, yeah, it has cracked my top 10 for sure of the year so far. So very good, man. Again, Nicolas Cage is freaking awesome in this movie. And he's not the main star of the film or anything like that. Like, give credit where credit's due to Miss Monroe. Um, she's great. She's our main star here. But I like this, man. I like crime thrillers. Like, I think that's better suited for what this is. This is a crime procedural kind of movie that is set in a thriller world, which obviously, I mean, crime films are going to be thrillers in themselves anyways. Like, this one's just taken up to that next level, if you will. But oh, so worth your time, man. So overall, Longlegs, see it. It is worth the hype that it's getting as far as I'm concerned. And absolutely glad I watched that movie. So there you go, man. Those are my thoughts on Longlegs. If you saw it over the weekend or you saw it last week, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And keep it spoiler free, please. Let's see. Going from there, it only makes sense to stay in the horror realm. Let's see. Warner Brothers has finally given us a date for what is said to be the final Conjuring movie. That'll be releasing in theaters and on IMAX on September 5th of 2025. Doesn't have a name for it yet. Don't really know what the plan is for that movie or anything like that, but it is being billed as the final The Conjuring film. Um, I don't know how you feel out there, but I've enjoyed the Conjuring universe. I remember the first time I saw that first Conjuring movie. Like, this is freaking awesome. This is great. It seemed like it was at a time. Maybe it was just me at that point in time. It like came out where it's like, this is a solid freaking horror movie. We haven't had a solid one in a while, and that universe has gone on. We've had two more Conjuring movies after that, Conjuring 2 and the Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It. Um, we've had two Nun movies. We've had three Annabelle films. Curse of La Llorona happened. Um, so there's all kinds of things that happen in that universe, and the universe isn't going away. From what I understand, I think there's also a TV show based on The Conjuring that's being made at this moment for Max or HBO. They're going back and forth now of where they're going with these things. If it's going to be an HBO show or HBO Max show, because previously the Harry Potter show was going to be a Max show, but they're saying that's going to be an HBO show. Um, so we'll see. But I've enjoyed those movies, and I can't wait to see how the final Conjuring movie comes out. I don't know if they've announced a director for it, but if I had a choice, I would say try to get James Wan to do that last movie if it's going to be the last one, because it just makes sense and it's fitting, right? So, but nonetheless, we got a release date for that, and I will always, of course, keep you posted on this network with more info on The Conjuring when we get it. Moving over to New Age Scream Queen, Melissa Barrera, who, of course, been in the Scream films. She was in Abigail, still my favorite movie of the year so far. And we've gotten some more information a little bit on one of her next upcoming films called Your Monster. There's a poster release for that. Shows two hands doing the heart emojis. One's a beast, one is her. You can kind of see their faces a little bit. You can see her. She's got like a Bride of Frankenstein kind of look going on with her, especially noticeable with the hair. Your Monster also got a release date of October 25th of this year, so right in time for Halloween. Would love to see that. I like Melissa Barrera as an actress. Haven't had much of a problem with her. Her and Jenna Ortega are like the shining parts of those Scream movies that have come out. And again, really enjoyed Abigail this year, and excited to see what this Your Monster is going to be. It seems like a Beauty and the Beast style kind of film. If I think it might be a comedy, I don't know. There's not much about the movie that I know of out here right now. We can double check, but I don't feel like I've seen much on that movie other than that poster coming out. Let's see. There's a synopsis on IMDb. So, what is this movie about? It's a romantic comedy horror film written. Okay, what is it about? Let's see. After her life falls apart, soft-spoken actress Laura Franco finds her voice again when she meets a terrifying yet weirdly charming monster living in her closet. Okay, a romantic comedy horror film about falling in love with your inner rage. All right, cool, fair enough. All right, cool. Into it. Why not? I'll check it out, of course, obviously, and I'll review it on the show. All right, last bit of not necessarily horror news, but this kind of fits in the Halloween and spooky vibes, if you will. Hocus Pocus 3. Haven't heard much about Hocus Pocus 3 in quite some time. It was officially announced back in 2022. I want to say before the strike happened, or right after, around the time of the strike last year is when this movie was announced, and then we had all that stuff. And Bette Midler, who was of course the star of of those films, she is Winifred Sanderson. Winifred Sanderson. I haven't watched Hocus Pocus in a while, but I'm pretty sure that's the name. Don't ask for the name of the other ones. It's nope, not even gonna try it. But she's absolutely the star, and she was on a QVC talk show, which I didn't even know QVC was still a thing. I guess I should have known that was something that was still around. But she was on a QVC talk show and was asked about the film. She said, "quote I haven't seen the script, but I've heard rumblings. I think if they're gonna, they gotta, or they oughta, because time is not just marching. Time is barrelessing to the finish line. Get us while we're still breathing. I mean, God," end quote. Which fair. Um, I'm not going to speak on women's ages, obviously, and a gentleman never does. But we know they've been around for a long time. It's been years from the movies. Obviously, the first movie came out back in the 90s. We had Hocus Pocus 2 a little more recently. Not 100% sure when that came out. I've only seen that one once, but I do remember enjoying it. Not as much, of course, obviously, as the first movie, but I like that world, and Hocus Pocus is kind of entered like a new renaissance, if you will, to where like I don't remember people talking about Hocus Pocus a lot. I know it's a movie I saw when I was younger, and anytime Halloween comes around, I want to throw it on and just have one of those good, fun movies to watch in between all the horror films I'm watching. And I've always liked Hocus Pocus, but it seems like it's hit like this new wave lately, and I know they've added it as the Hocus Pocus show at the Disney resorts or Disney theme parks, maybe just Walt Disney World. I don't know about Disneyland, but it is part of the Mickey's Not So Scary event that they do every year during Halloween time. And of course, we had the movie recently, and there's the third one that is being worked on. We just don't know much of what's happening with it at the moment. But yeah, I would think you move forward with that. I believe Hocus Pocus 2, obviously, not only have to believe it, of course, it was successful if they're doing a third one. So yeah, I don't know what the holdup would be there, but yeah, get them while they're still here. We don't want to see a Hocus Pocus movie without the Winifred sisters. So get that going. All right, jumping over to DC real quick. The only thing that's really happened since our last episode is that, and of course, there's set photos of Superman out there and all this stuff. I'm avoiding that, obviously. Um, there's some other set photos from Superman and Lois, the show that is ending this year. So that's something to look watch this year when it comes to DC, because mostly we're mentioning Creature Commando and Joker happening this year, but that is also happening this year as well. And then something I saw, and it's rumor, put into it and what thought you want to put into it. I don't believe this is true at all, but I have not seen anything from James Gunn yet or Matt Reeves about this. So there's a rumor that broke since our last episode that Matt Reeves' Batman universe, the Batman starring Robert Pattinson, that is going to join the DCU. And they've already said before that it wasn't going to be part of the DCU, but according to this rumor, with the cancellation of the Arkham show, and Matt Reeves is apparently having a hard time writing the script for the Batman 2, that they're going to merge it into the DCU and have it all fit there. Which, I get the idea. It's a fun rumor. I would love for that to be part of the DCU. I thoroughly enjoy that Batman movie. I've been on record how much I love that movie. And I would think you would try to get it as a part of the DCU. But I would understand if Matt Reeves is like, I want to just create my thing and all that stuff. And I don't want to be trying to connect it to something. I get that. But it would look great next to, what they're building with Superman right now and the future they have, all of that. With that said, in the future of the DCU, we know that there's a Batman movie already planned for the DCU called the Batman Brave and the Bold film. It's going to be inspired by that comic run. So obviously different Batmans. We don't know much about that Batman other than, like I just mentioned, there's been no casting whatsoever for it. So we're kind of left in a loop of what's happening Batman wise. Would it be easier to try to bring this Batman in? Sure, absolutely. You've got something already created and established. Adding it into your universe would be an easy thing, but pulling it out of the Elseworlds and all that stuff, because people, if they're not in the know, they're not going to understand what's connected and not connected and all that stuff. Um, I'm fine if they bring it in. It's cool. But again, this is just like super internet rumor. Like this, I've only seen this once. I haven't seen it really much of anywhere else. And again, I always check James Gunn's feed on Threads before I come on here and do this show, because he's going to have the updates for me. So I don't think it's true. Not against it if it happens, but I don't think it's true whatsoever. What say you? Let me know in the comments. Let's see. All right. And let's see, last bit of news here is that last week's review, which was much nicer than this week's review, was the film Despicable Me 4. And we have learned after the huge success that Despicable Me 4 has been and will probably continue to be until Deadpool releases, because again, Longlegs had a good weekend, but Deadpool or Despicable Me, so many D word movies. Despicable Me 4 was still number one this week. And nothing against Twisters coming out this week. That's going to be the big release this week, but I don't know if it'll be that thing to take down Despicable Me or not. I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe there's some fatigue with Despicable Me. Maybe some people are going out to see it. I don't know. but Despicable Me still is doing good enough. And I just don't know what the audience is going to be for Twisters. Glenn Powell, of course, is out there a lot and all that stuff, and people seem to like him, but I don't know if he's that big movie star that's going to pull people in to see the movie or not. Um, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of over Twisters, just mostly because I've seen that trailer. I kid you not, seems like every single time I've been to the theaters, that trailer is played to where it's the point of I think I know this whole movie, like I don't, and I've just lost the interest in that movie because when it first came out, the trailer came out, I'm like, yes, super excited and all that, and I'm planning on watching the first Twister movie before seeing that one this week and all that. But it's just like the more and more I see that same exact trailer, the more and more I'm like, has this movie not come out yet? It's just one of those things where I'm like, what is happening here? It could very well be a good movie. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's not. I haven't seen it, so I couldn't even tell you if it is or not. Anyways, I will next week when I review it on the show. But it's I don't know, man. I'm kind of over Twisters at this point. I'm just ready to get the movie over with, and then get to Deadpool. But yeah, how did we get there? Oh, Despicable Me probably still be number one. So they've officially announced that Universal and Illumination have announced Minions 3, the third Minions filming. They've had two movies. They've had, of course, Minions, and then they've had Minions: The Rise of Gru, and now they're gonna have a third movie. Set for June 30th of 2027. So 3 years and a couple weeks passed from now. So that's cool. I mean, obviously to be expected. The Minions have been a big deal, man. They've been a big deal for a while, and if it's a big deal still, why stop? And why even stop anyways with the Minion movies? It works. It gets over. We've got. I'm a huge Universal Studios fan. We've got plenty of them at the Universal Studios with the Despicable Me Minion Mayhem ride, and then you've got the Minion Pops and the popcorn flavored popcorn and just the Minion Cafe and the Minion Tots and all that stuff. Like it's a thing. It's a big thing, and I don't blame them at all for continuing to market it and work on it. I will not be surprised if the Rip Ride Rocket gets turned into some Minion themed roller coaster, or just keep it Rip Ride Rocket, or change it up a little bit and just have the Minions singing the songs on Rip Ride Rocket. I don't know, but the Minions, like that roller coaster for sure is going to get. I don't know how you don't. It's going to get something, whether it's turned into a roller coaster to fit like they had a Crazy Silly Fun Land in the first movie, or whatever they want to go with it. Use my idea of the Minions singing the songs on Rip Ride Rocket. Who knows? But nonetheless, a third Minions movie is on the way, my friends. So that is that. So we've got all that stuff to talk about. I guested on Haunter's podcast like we make sure you check that out. We discussed Insidious being announced as the house. Excited for that. There is a Patreon that we have here on the Throw Me Podcast Network. Check out Zach and Brooke doing HHN homework, where they watch the movies and kind of discuss things that are happening. We've already got the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire one out there. They are working on the Insidious one, from what I understand. So that'll be there on the Throw Me Podcast Network. You can also check out my Nightmare on Review, a straight review of the X trilogy. I got some other fun stuff going on the Patreon for sure. All kinds of fun stuff. One D's got his shows over there as well. So just having some fun doing the thing, man. So that's going to be it. Actually, speaking of Deadpool and speaking of the network, Zach and losing my voice. Zach and Justin have a core memory for the lead up to Deadpool happening as well. So be sure to follow us on the YouTube with Throw Me Podcast Network, or social media, especially Instagram, where a lot of our stuff goes up, and Facebook, and for all those fun things that happen. Of course, my brother's show, the Metal Groove Podcast, all kinds of fun stuff happening here on the Throw Me Podcast Network. But that's going to do it for this week's episode, man. Hope you had a good time with this episode. Again, Longlegs. I really enjoyed this movie. Had a great moment with it. It's insane as that seems. And if you've seen the movie, you know why, because the movie is freaking bonkers, but it's a good bonkers. It's not overly insane bonkers, if you will, but it's a bonkers nonetheless. But it's a good movie on top of that. So Longlegs review, gave you some updates on the Conjuring. Hocus Pocus, what's going on with the DCU, and another Minions movie on the way, man. So appreciate you, as always, taking the time to listen to me ramble on this show about stuff that I am very passionate about and love and enjoy. So anybody taking the time to listen to the show is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, month, year, day, whenever it is. I just hope everything works out for you. Keep on fighting, keep on living. Everything will work out. Everything is going to be awesome. And as always, remember that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.